what will you be learning during this process? You're going to be learning how to keep all of your profits. You're also going to be learning how you can safely finance your customers. That's the main thing is safely finance your customers. And there are ways to keep it safe. We actually have a psychologist on our team that will be explaining the fear and greed side of financing and what causes collections, which is really, really cool. Next, how you can keep the credit card interest, and that's through the process of financing. Next, how you can thwart collections. And it's interesting if you look at it, most people, when they think of financing, they think, oh, I'm going to have to deal with more collections. Actually, through the process that Woje has, it actually cancels out collections and you don't have to send people to collections. You keep them, you make more money, but it's a huge benefit. Now, just really quick, I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. So I've owned companies for quite a long time, but I started out just small. I was talked into starting my own sign company by some mentors, and I jumped right in. Really didn't know what I was doing, but I did it anyway. And during that process, credit cards were just coming into fruition. So I'm kind of dating myself. I remember them saying that you had to purchase a terminal or lease a terminal because they were too expensive back then, and that this was the wave of the future, that everybody was going to be using credit cards. So I jumped on the bandwagon because I followed just like a sheep with everybody else. And so I started leasing a card swiping machine back then, which was running me about $250 a month. Nowadays, people look at that and say, that is nuts because, Square is dirt cheap. You can get a Square swiper for nothing. But back then it was brand new. So whenever it's brand new, it's usually more expensive. So I was leasing this machine, and my first client or customer was only about $45 about every month. They were ordering signs. So you can imagine I was going in the hole every month. So I didn't really like that. And I was like, why now am I having to pay in order to collect my money? Because there was not only that, but there was batching fees and, anywhere that they could nickel and dime you. And the same process is going on now where, the goal is to nickel and dime the businesses, take a percentage of every profit, earn the interest on the backside. And I didn't like that very much. The other thing that was happening is I was in a churning bucket. I was discounting to make sales, and I'm sure a lot of you do the same thing. You're like, I'll do it for less. That process would hurt all of the small businesses while the larger businesses were doing great. And I still remember it. It was a Mills Montessori school. I bid on their sign, and it was, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think I came in at $8,000, $9,000 for their signs. And I got the bid because I was the lowest. And so I went to pick up the deposit check. And by the time I got there, they had signed a contract with a larger company. And I was like, there's no way that they could have beat my price. And they said, well, they were willing to finance. And when I saw the financing, I realized, oh my gosh, I could have financed. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it. And the next job that came along, I would have bid it out at about $9,000 because I knew my frenemy, who I called my frenemy, would have bid it out at just above $9,000. So I knew that I'd get it. But I also knew that larger companies were bidding on it too, and they were probably going to finance it. So I wrote it up for $33,000, I think is what it was, financed. And I ended up getting it because the closest larger company to me bid it out at about $42,000. So I was so excited and got the deposit, started going, doing the work on the job. And I felt so guilty. I ended up building 2 extra signs for them. But at that point, I learned the power of financing. So I started financing a lot of people. Then, of course, the problem hit, and that was collections. And I tried anything and everything to get people to pay, anything that was where I wouldn't lose the customer. And of course, it was a nightmare. And I lost a lot of money, but I knew I was on the right track. I knew that there was a way to be able to collect that money, eliminate the merchant fees, and be able to finance customers. And I kept looking and trying different things. And then I started combining a couple of ideas together. When I brought those ideas together and those systems together, all of a sudden it eliminated collections. I was able to finance, earn interest, and I was able to keep all of the transaction fees. And I was like, this is amazing. So I just started doing it. And this was about 22 years ago. And because of that, I was able to, and still am at 100% collection on the original balance of all the contracts that I've done. The amount of interest that I've earned for the interest that I put them at, I'm still at like the high 90s just because of this process of how to do it. And it's been very lucrative. And I spread from my sign company to other avenues, anything and everything that I could think of. So I've done it with furniture, equipment, training, software, trees, LED lighting, vehicles, just anything that came my way. I just started looking at and started financing. And it became really, really fun. And I realized that the huge benefit there is I was saving my customer money while I was earning more money, and I was doing it passively, and I was generating all this interest, and I'm still earning interest on jobs even today, and will continue doing more and more contracts, as the years go by. It's fun. It's just a lot of fun. And so the goal is for you to learn it, be able to do it, gain this experience, be able to earn that income for yourself and reap the benefits that I have and those people that use Woje.